Well, I mean, one of the things that happened in the final hours that is new, and I wanted to get your response to this, is that there's audio that's going around. I mean, we have people who work here who got some of these phone calls that were clearly intending to benefit your campaign, but they're not identified as being part of any campaign. So I wanted to find out from you what's that about. Was that from your campaign or from a support group?
Well, I haven't heard any of these. I've, of course, heard about them as well. And, the truth is there's a whole lot going on out there right now. And, look, my campaign has stuck to the facts. We've stuck to things that are relevant to this office. And I spent a lot of time talking about my plan for this office, talking about my record.
Wait, don't skip over it. I mean, there's a specific phone call that went out, and it's left on people's message machines, and it purports to be somebody saying, oh, hi, this is so-and-so. Oh, did you know that Tish James, X, Y, and Z says a lot of negative stuff? I can't trust her. I'm not going to vote for her. Bye. And there's nothing else. I mean, we played it on our show. It's out there. You saying this did not come from your campaign?
No, I'm saying that I haven't heard it.
Well, I don't care whether you heard it. Did it come from your campaign?
Look,
I can play it for you if you want to hear it. Then we can get past that. I'm just wondering, did your campaign do this?
Look, without hearing it, I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that we've
Go
stuck
ahead
to
and
the
play it.
facts.
Let me get the producer. Play it.
This is Katie. I just wanted to make sure that you saw Friday's Daily News. They said, and I quote, public advocate candidate Letitia James has some explaining to do. It looks like she lied about making contributions to charity. That's dishonest. Letitia James has lost my trust and lost my vote. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, now you've heard it.
Well, look, that refers to that Daily News article. And look, I heard about a robocall going out this weekend claiming that I was against so-called Obamacare, which I'm not. Everything that my campaign has done, and we sat at this very table, has been based on facts that are relevant to this office. There was a Daily News article that talked about exactly that issue. We've also focused overwhelmingly on my record, standing up to the Bloomberg administration to fight back against terrible homeless policy, standing up after Sandy for my constituents who most needed it, standing up in the state legislature to pass ethics reform legislation.
Okay, because you're not answering the question, I'm going to assume that your campaign put out that anonymous robocall, and I think most of our viewers are going to assume the same thing. Are you okay with that?
Look, people will assume what they want to assume.
All right. One of the other things that came up in the final hours was there were 3 members of Congress, I think it was Meeks and Jeffries and Clark, who put out a statement sort of saying that you've been unfair and that you've been using unfair tactics. I wanted to know if you had a response to that.
Look, my opponent started out going negative with unfounded attacks that have been repeated. In fact, were repeated at this very table in the debate last week about myself and my family. I think that was unacceptable. Everything that we've said has been based on facts, and we've focused overwhelmingly on my vision for this office. And I think it's really important here, and this is an important distinction. I think that talking about your record, talking about your vision, and talking about issues that are relevant to the office is very different than personal attacks, and so I couldn't disagree more with that.
Well, I actually had a question from that. And I was part of that conversation about, she said something about you living off a trust fund. Your response was, actually, we lost the trust fund. Bernie Madoff stole it, I guess was the essence of your answer. I never understood why that would be considered a personal attack anyway. I mean, to me, it's like winning a lottery ticket, right? It's not like you built up the trust fund, right? You happen to have been given this by, your prominent father, and he had done this honestly. Nobody's ever accused him of anything wrong or anything like that. And you had it, and it went away. Why is that a personal attack?
Well, look, I think if only the intentions of what's been raised in the innuendo over the course of the campaign were as honest as all that. I think it's not. And, I think it's really important here. There's a lot going back and forth, and there's a difference between facts and innuendo, between attacks that have been repeatedly by publications said to be not true, attacks about my legislative record, attacks about my family, which had already been disproven, versus talking about issues of transparency, issues of knowing who we can trust to fight for us in this office. I've spent a lot of time talking about this People's Pledge to keep independent expenditures out of the race, about the fact that I don't take corporate and political action committee contributions. And, I've talked mostly about my plan for this office. This office can't solve the world's problems or even the city's problems. What it can do is take on issues that no one else is taking on and get real results for the people who most need them.
Yeah, I did have a question about you've said repeatedly that you didn't take any corporate contributions, but as was talked about in some of the commentary following the debate, if you take money from all of the executives of a corporation and the owners of the corporation and the spouses of the owners of the corporation, what difference does it make whether you took a check from the corporation itself, right? I mean, you're basically getting supported by an entity that has an interest in making a friend down at City Hall, right?
Well, look, I'm the only candidate who has that prohibition, who doesn't do that. So that's a difference. I mean, maybe you should ask the other candidate, ask my opponent, to join in that prohibition. I think that would be a better system.
I'm just wondering what does it do for anybody? The fact that I won't take it from the corporation, I'll take it from all of the people who own the corporation.
Well, Errol, I have people from broad walks of life, from every walk of life, who've supported my campaign. I, in fact, have the broadest grassroots campaign, the highest number of contributors, mostly at a very moderate and lower level across the city. I've really engaged with the campaign finance system. My opponent has actually said that independent expenditures are an important part of the process. I disagree. I disagree with Citizens United. I disagree with the Supreme Court on that. I think our campaign finance system is the right one. Mm-hmm. And so, that's a distinction. That's an important distinction.
Should there be restrictions on in her case, I think she was talking about unions. Do you think there should be restrictions on what unions can contribute or do in elections?
I've asked from the beginning of the race, for what I call a people's pledge, based on what Elizabeth Warren proposed and got signed in her Senate race, which would say that there's an enforceable mechanism to keep independent expenditures out of the election. Mm-hmm. And I've offered it, and unfortunately it's been rejected.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. We will wish you the best of luck and check in with you tomorrow.